Following her departure from the Vision, Becky Lynch has three directions in the WWE. After suffering a surprising count-out defeat to Maxine Dupree in a non-title match last week, which was facilitated by dishonest referee Jessica Carr, WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion Becky Lynch will defend her title against Dupree on next week's Raw. However, it was this past weekend in Perth when her world turned upside down, despite Lynch not even coming to Australia. Her attractive husband, Seth Rollins, defeated his archenemy, Cody Rhodes, to win the Crown Jewel Championship on Saturday. But after delivering an absurd coast-to-coast diving headbutt during the bout, he landed with a serious injury to his arm. Rollins has also suffered a kayfabe disaster, and WWE has yet to acknowledge the injury. On Monday Night Raw this week, the Vision betrayed their old leader at Braun Breaker's request. Of course, Becky Lynch is no longer associated with or a part of the group. After her actions at Clash in Paris and on the subsequent Raw episode, she was reunited with her attractive husband after a long breakup and started the build-up to AJ Lee's WWE comeback and the mixed tag team match against AJ and CM Punk at WrestleApalooza. She never made an appearance with the Bronsons. In actuality, Rollins was hardly ever spotted with Reed and Breaker during this period. However, because Becky Lynch is no longer even remotely connected to the Vision and Seth Rollins is reportedly going to be off TV for a while, we'll talk about three potential future directions for the man on Raw in this post. It makes perfect sense for Becky Lynch, the best female professional wrestler in history and the top heel in the division, to aim higher and challenge for the Women's World Championship once more. However, Stephanie Vaquer would stand in the middle of the man's ambition to become Becky Two Belts, a real fantasy match. La Primera will face big time. Bex would continue to boost the former, and Lynch versus Vaquer being booked imminently makes sense because other top heels and baby faces on Raw are already occupied on prominent programs to challenge either woman. But following Crown Jewel 2025, Seth Rollins had a devastating appearance on the most recent episode of WWE Raw. The concluding moments of the show saw Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed betray Rollins. Reed unleashed a vicious tsunami when Breaker struck the Visionary with a spear. Furthermore, the Braun's allegiance was confirmed when Paul Heyman, who had at first appeared perplexed, raised their hands. Seth Rollins might turn babyface and make an appearance on Raw after the startling betrayal. He might give a tearful promo and give up the World Heavyweight title. Then, as part of his plot with the Vision, a depressed Visionary might declare his retirement. A situation from real life might have an impact on this angle. It's possible that the Stamford-based promotion would rather not take the conventional path of Rollins giving up the title. The Visionary may turn babyface and then leave in dismay, further infuriating the Brons. He may be able to recuperate from his actual injuries, which he allegedly suffered at Crown Jewel. In the meanwhile, his return to prominence could be facilitated by the possible angle. Numerous prominent WWE figures, including as AJ Styles and Mark Henry, have previously retired as part of plots before making a comeback to the ring. To further escalate his conflict with the Brons and give a surprise segment, Rollins may do the same on Raw. If the Visionary turns into a babyface, this perspective can help him win over fans' love and sympathy. Fans will have to wait and watch how the plot develops because the above-mentioned perspective is speculative. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo talked candidly about Rollins' betrayal by the Vision on Sportskeeda's Legion of Raw. Many people thought that the Visionary's expulsion from the organization was due to his injury, but Russo had another explanation. Whatever the motivation behind the angle, it has undoubtedly altered the course of Raw's men's division. What the WWE creative staff has planned for the participating stars in the upcoming weeks is only a matter of time. But as the fans started chanting her name, Rhea, 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 the lights inside Perth, Australia's Optus Stadium faded to a melancholic purple. The Australian Nightmare, Rhea Ripley, had not performed in her native country for more than 5 years. Now, she was one of the most powerful and well-respected WWE champions in the world, shining brightly beneath the Elimination Chamber 2024 lights. Smoke swirled across the stage as Rhea emerged, her trademark black attire gleaming in the spotlights as her entrance music roared through the audience. Her eyes, however, shimmered in a new way this time. They were filled with pride, nostalgia, and a greater sense of homecoming rather than rage or retaliation. At the top of the ramp, she paused, inhaled deeply, and gazed out at the sea of admirers who had witnessed her transformation from a ferocious Australian teen wrestler in tiny gyms to one of WWE's most influential figures. Rhea's eyes filled with tears, but she swiftly smirked and cocked her head, maintaining her signature demeanor. "Mommy's home, Perth," she yelled into the microphone. Deafening cheers erupted from the crowd. Fans also held up posters that said, "Aussie Pride, Mommy Power," and "Welcome Home, Rhea." It was more than simply another title defense tonight. It was a personal one. In the Elimination Chamber, Rhea was scheduled to defend her Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch, Bayley, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez, 5 of the finest in the WWE. It was an impending explosion of mayhem. Rhea stood up in the middle of the ring, gazing up at the icy chains of the room as soon as the steel door closed. The pods opened one by one, letting her opponent's wrath loose. The bout was horrific. Rhea's strength was put to the test like never before by Liv's wild blows, Io's incredible moonsaults, and Becky's unwavering will. At one point, Raquel slammed Rhea so hard into the chamber glass that the audience gasped. She dropped to her knees, her lip dripping blood. She appeared defeated for a moment. Then she heard the chanting, "Let's go, Rhea," and something lit within of her. Screaming, "This is my house," she slapped the mat, tightened her hands, and then unleashed a torrent of power. She reversed Becky's disarm her into a riptide, pulled Raquel into another deadly riptide in the middle of the ring, and powerbombed Io through the chamber floor. 1, 2, 3. The referee's hand struck the mat. The bell rung. The stadium trembled. In front of her home fans, Rhea Ripley had succeeded in keeping her title. Rhea sat in the center of the ring, tired, tears streaming down her face as her theme song resumed. Her family was seated in the front row, and she gazed out at the crowd. Her father wiped his eyes, and her mother got up, clapping enthusiastically. Rhea approached cautiously, scaled the barricade, and gave them a firm embrace. "It's for you," she said. WWE cameras captured an emotional backstage moment after the program concluded. "I left Australia as a kid with a dream," Rhea remarked quietly as she stared into the camera while still holding her championship. "I returned victorious. I appreciate that you never gave up on me." Later that evening, she stood by herself in the deserted stadium, gazing up at the lights where her name had been cheered by the supporters just moments before. The quiet was serene. "Australia will always be my heart, no matter where I go," she replied with a smile to herself. The Australian nightmare, the warrior, the champion, and most significantly, the girl who returned home, left after that. But it was an electrifying night following WrestleMania 39. Still energized from the historic matches over the weekend, the Los Angeles audience was more boisterous than ever. With her trademark braid dangling proudly down her back and the Raw Women's Championship shining over her shoulder, Bianca Belair stood in the middle of the Raw ring. She had recently established herself as the EST of WWE by defeating Asuka at WrestleMania. However, there was something unusual about the atmosphere this evening, a change in energy that all of the spectators in the arena could feel before anything even occurred. The lights in the arena went down as Bianca started to thank the supporters for their support. The applause from the crowd changed to a mixture of shock and expectation. The first notes of "This Is My Brutality" suddenly came through the speakers. When Rhea Ripley, the recently minted SmackDown Women's Champion, appeared out of the shadows with her cold look directly at Bianca, the crowd erupted. Rhea's championship shone in the lights as she stood at the top of the ramp, her leather jacket slung over her shoulders. As she strode toward the ring, the ominous aura of the Judgment Day seemed to follow her every move. Confident but wary, Bianca grinned. She held the microphone and said, well, unless she is the nightmare herself. "Rhea, why have you come to my ring?" Rhea cocked her head, her grin icy and rapacious. "Your ring? Don't get it wrong, Bianca. You may be the greatest of all time in the WWE. You are only occupying the space that long ago ought to have been mine. Half of the audience cheered for Rhea, and half for Bianca. There was an electric tension. Rhea went on, approaching with a low, menacing voice. You see, I was crushing Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania while you were having fun with Asuka. I defeated the Queen in addition to winning that title. I'm here to remind you now. The threat is always greater, and it's Rhea Ripley. Bianca's eyes grew piercing as she laughed. Well done, champion. However, I'll stick to my brand while you stick to yours. Unless... She stopped, glancing up and down at Rhea. You're afraid that your power won't endure long over there? Now Rhea took a step closer, nose to nose. Are you afraid?
No, dear.
I'm hungry, not afraid. And people are harmed while I'm hungry. The strain became unbearable. Bianca lowered her microphone and raised her title. Lifting hers, Rhea matched it. With two powerful champions and two unstoppable forces facing each other and the audience yelling, "This is awesome," the picture was legendary. Then Rhea backed away with a quick smirk. Bianca, enjoy your small celebration. Because brand lines will eventually fail to protect you. And when that day arrives, I'm taking everything from you, she said, leaning forward and whispering the final words into Bianca's ear. With the tune from Judgment Day blaring around the arena, she exited the ring. Bianca's smile turned to a serious glare as she stood in the center of the ring. The powerful match between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, a collision of strength, confidence, and destiny that fans would discuss for years to come, began that night and was one of the most anticipated rivalries in WWE history. And the WWE Universe would never be the same after these two titans finally faced off in the ring, as everyone watching was certain of. Greetings and welcome to my channel, dear viewers. I hope you're having a great day. I'm Lima. Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy.